Is up, Jabronis? JJ back here from Run Pure Bets, talking a little Thanksgiving football. Not exactly, your most riveting three games today. Not that Thanksgiving always has, riveting games, but their late game has usually been a decent one. Sucks that the Saints, have their own issues, which maybe that game won't be as good tonight. But either way, Thanksgiving, a lot to be grateful for, right? Gobble gobble. I'll go through each game, talk through some props. I'll give out two of my best bets for today. And then, Godspeed. So then tonight I'll talk a little college football for tomorrow because, it'll be the first time we have a very busy slate on a Friday in college football. Maybe there was a busy Friday the first week, but it'll be a nice Friday slate in college football as well. And then, of course, Saturday I'll be back with another live show in the morning. So I'll talk through some of these lines that I like. And then I'll go off into the Thanksgiving festivities. So look, Lions, Bears, Lions -3, -2.5, pending your book. Total about 41-ish. So I'll tell you this. So one of my favorite bets for today is Bears minus the 2.5. You can get 3 at a cheaper price. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. Like I said, of course, 3 is a key number, but you're going to pay extra money to lay 2.5. I know, like, this Lions team, for whatever reason, week after week after week, people love to hope this team wins a game or covers a spread. I tell you what, though, I watch this team weekly, and I know it might sound, either cliche or too surface level, but the Lions are terrible. Like, they're just terrible. Their wide receivers are terrible. Hawkinson is typically getting doubled for a tight end, and he just hasn't had as much success as I think people thought he would. Without Goff, I mean, this offense was anemic, with him. It got even worse with Boyle in there. DeAndre Swift's like the lone piece to this team that does look good at times. But outside of him, there's just really nothing about this team in any fashion. Like, Pittsburgh tied this team with Mason Rudolph. Pittsburgh fumbled like 17 times or 18 times. I don't, obviously I'm exaggerating, but yes. And Merrick, B-Rad, and Thomas, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody as well. Hope you guys enjoy, today, whether it's family, friends, whether you're, on your own, just relaxing, whatever it is, like I said, hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving. Are you a masochist watching the Lions every week? Well, Chuck, so when you have an NFL ticket and, the TV, no, it's like a douchebag, but you have an NFL ticket and the TVs, like, you would organically watch, a lot of football, including the Lions. Why I've watched the Lions a decent amount is, first of all, I'm a Vikings fan. So I've obviously get a decent amount of the NFC North in, if you will, as for reps. And I've also bet on a few Lions games, right? I've faded them a few times this year. Whether with their team total under or just fading them in an absolute smash spot, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it takes much. Like, I think like the media loves to pump up Campbell and how motivational he is, and I'm not discounting that aspect of it. I just think the team sucks. Like, people want this team to win, and look, I get it. This is the most winnable game left on their schedule, and they very well could win. But here's my thing. So I personally think Andy Dalton is an upgrade from Justin Fields at this point in time. Okay. You guys remember Dalton got hurt. Fields slides in. Fields has looked good at times, and he's looked actually really good at times. But he's also looked really bad at times as well. And I think Dalton is at this point in both of their careers, Dalton's a better pass thrower of the football. So I think if anything, it's an upgrade to this offense. Montgomery's back healthy. Allen Robinson, I don't know if we had news on Robinson playing, not playing. Not sure. So Robinson was doubtful as of yesterday. Looks like he's inactive. Okay. So that would have helped, not going to lie. But I mean, not the end of the world. I mean, Mooney has been good enough, honestly. And Dalton loved him anyway last week. So I'm not that. I mean, Robinson's definitely, going to be an issue for their offense, at least from a continuity perspective, but I don't think it's that big of a deal overall. So the Lions O-line can run the ball without Hicks playing. I agree, Scott. I think the Lions will be able to move the football today. I'm not like one of the guys that's looking at this game going like, this is like a balls under. Like, I think that I think that both these teams have a lot of issues defensive. But yeah, sure, both teams have a lot of issues offensively, but both teams have a lot of issues defensively. So I'm not, I definitely think both teams can score points here. And again, I think Dalton can move the ball downfield with this offense better than people think, or at least the current perception is. I can run through a few crops, LOL. I can run through a few props for you. Not these that I would bet, but just to give you some perspective. So it does look like Jared Goff's going to play. Here's my issue with Goff. Like, this dude's not good when he's fully healthy. He's not 100% healthy. Like, he's made it clear he's playing. He's going to play through pain. And Campbell is making the decision that, we'll let him play through some pain. So you're going to get a version of Jared Goff today. Likely that's not the same version you've gotten from him all season, which hasn't been good anyway. And look, it's not just Jared Goff's fault, right? Like, this offensive line's not very good. It's not like he has all these, great pass catchers to throw to. Like, at least Stafford, when he was here for years, obviously had Calvin, and then, had Galladay for a bit as well. But yeah, this offense is just tough to watch at times. Swift is good, of course, but outside of him. So as for Jared Goff's passing number, I mean, look, 214 is a low number. I'd lean it under for his passing yards. I won't go with passing touchdowns because there's a little bit of high variance with those at times as well. Andy Dalton knows an interesting situation because if for whatever reason Montgomery struggles to find running room, I can definitely see a decent passing game from Dalton today. I just don't know if the opportunity is going to be there. And I didn't talk much on this yet, but the narrative coming into this game, right? Matt Nagy finally going to get fired, supposedly. And like, people are looking at it like, it's his last game. They're just going to give up on him, not even going to play. I'd argue, like, mentally, this team's got to feel relieved. He's been such a big problem for this team for the last 4 to 5 years, coaching-wise. If anything, if you're somebody who's been in that locker room long-term, you got to be feeling good that he's not going to be there, or at least he's not going to be there at the year end. I think that this would be the first time in history I think the Bears fired a head coach mid-season, if they do it. But either way, like, I think the narrative is actually incorrect. Like, I've been hearing different folks say that this team's just going to give up on Nagy, his last game. They haven't liked him anyway. It could be right. I just look at it from a different perspective. I look at it as if I was on the Bears and I was frustrated with Nagy, I'd be like, finally, okay, now I know we can move on, and we don't have to worry about him coaching us anymore long term. So yeah, let's go out and win today, boys. So I don't look at it like they're just going to purposely lose the game for him and his potentially last game coaching. So I just want to talk on that narrative. Granted, it's not an analytical one, but I do think it's been brought up enough to at least warrant talking about. On the rush receive side, so you might think I'm crazy. Like, Dalton, 8.5 rushing yards. It's actually been steamed down. His was 10.5 yesterday. Slight lean over that because he actually runs more than he gets credit for. And I know that the last game he didn't take any carries, but he is not against running for a first down. He's never been in his career. So I don't mind that over the 8.5 rushing yards for him. He can get that in one play. Swift 68.5 is high, in my opinion. I'm not saying he can't go over that, but it scared me enough to not want to play it. I'd argue that there's some value in the under there, but, as mentioned in the chat, the Bears have a lot of folks missing defensively. It wouldn't surprise me if he found running room. And we know Swift can break a big one. He did it last week. So, and Montgomery, 81.5. So the good part about Montgomery is he never leaves the field, right? He just plays like 99% of the snaps. That's just a big number, in my opinion. For him. If anything, I would actually play his joint number, his rush and receive number, which is 106. At least you get value in both because Montgomery never leaves the field. Like, if you're going to bet a rushing prop, or, I don't get why you would bet a rushing prop for a player that literally plays every snap. Like, just play them both together because at least you'll get credit for both. If he has a huge receiving game and an average running game, you'd still get over. If he has his huge running game, you're likely still going to get over anyway. So I just think if you're going to play him, you play them combined. So St. Brown's an interesting thing here. So Scott, you see 34. I actually see 32.5. I don't mind that at all. I just hate the way the Lions spread the ball around. And then, like I said, I'm not a fan of Jared Goff anyway, so it just makes things more complicated. But, you have a lot of different options here. I mean, Mooney at 60 seems high. I'll be honest, Montgomery at 20.5 receiving. That just seems low. I think his rushing seems high. That receiving number seems low. Jimmy Graham, only needs one to get there, right? Problem is he only gets like 2 or 3 targets, and it's usually around the red zone. Hockenson, 44.5 is a decent number as well if you want to target an over there. He's had a few like average weeks, and I think that's what's pushing it down. Marquise Goodwin's been seeing the field a ton with Robinson out, so you could argue that as well. The rest of them, I believe, in my end, are all coin flips. Like Cole Kmet could have a decent game, but Cole Kmet was liked a lot more from Justin Fields. Andy Dalton, at least what I remember, wasn't exactly firing his way earlier in the year. But Fields definitely loves to check, the tight end safety blanket. That's basically it in this game. I mean, you could talk on, whatever it is, first halves, or you could talk on parlays or same game parlays, but I'll be honest, like for me, it's just Bears here for me. So I'll put it here. Bears. I mean, currently it's -3 plus 100 at DK, so I'll put that here. This more or less has all to do with the fact that the Lions can't get out of their own way. I don't care. Like I said, I know that this is their last opportunity to win it, likely their last opportunity to win a game this season. It's likely to be the last game they're underdog of 7 or less. To me, this team finds ways to lose games every week, and you're getting a number 3 or less. To me, it's almost borderline smash spot. Bears -3, DK. Williams anytime touchdown. So I guess we could talk on the anytime touchdowns. I didn't really mention them at all. So now a bet that's interesting to me, I'll tell you this. David Montgomery -140 to score. I mean, it just seems ridiculous. Like to me in this spot, he should be like near -180, 190. Like I don't understand how he's only $1.40 to score today. Like I said, he literally never leaves the field. So if the Bears are inside the 10, if they're inside the 5, if they're inside the 2, if they're inside, if they're at the 1, he's going to be in the game with an opportunity to score against a defense that gives up a ton of points. So, yeah, I don't mind that. Swift at -110, I guess. Jamal Williams, I think, is back, right? So I don't love the idea of Swift. He could score, of course, because he's a great player. But just so we're clear, Scott, you mean Jamal Williams anytime touchdown? Because I don't mind that at all. The odds are 260. Those are pretty juicy. If I don't like Swift at 110, I have to like Williams at 260. So, yeah, I don't mind that at all. The rest of it all is, I feel like, complete coin flips. I mean, Mooney at +150 is not bad when you consider he's going to be the number 1, and Allen Robinson is usually a little less than this number. So, if you argue Mooney's going to replace the Allen Robinson type targets, +150 does seem a little good for value. Okay, so the Bears defense +350 to score. That's insane. Like, I mean, a defense 3.5 to 1 to score. That's to me, it's pretty wild. Okay, so tease the Lions +9 under 47. Yeah, best of luck, Gerardo. Like I said, I don't think that's a bad look at all. We could get a rock fight here. I'm on the. I guess people look at these two teams and think they have bad offenses. I look at these two teams and think they have bad defenses. So, or at least I think they have worse defenses than their offenses. And if the Bears did at one point this season have a good defense, they certainly do not right now with the injuries. Okay, we can slide over the next game. So Dallas and Vegas, right? Line 7.5. And for those that are wondering how much CeeDee Lamb is worth to a line, how about a grand total of 0? Line didn't budge at all with him being ruled out, even though it was thought that he would actually play as of yesterday, or that he could play as of yesterday. Total's down to 50.5. What do I make of this game, right? So I won't have a best bet from this game, but I will talk through it for you. The Cowboys, since Dak's been back, have only really looked good against the Falcons, right? I mean, and they looked really good against the Falcons. They did have a full roster for the Falcons game. I think so, right? I mean, did Cooper get hurt? When did Cooper get hurt? I don't remember. Either Cooper got hurt in that game. Maybe I don't remember. Either way. So what do you make of them, right? Because the Chiefs defense has played better, but I mean, the Cowboys 9 points. The Broncos, the Cowboys looked lost against. So is this like a bounce back opportunity for this Cowboys offense? It might be. But when you talk continuity, no CeeDee Lamb, no Amari Cooper, that puts a lot of pressure on Michael Gallup, who it always seems like whenever Gallup is in his short career, whenever he's been the number 1 receiver in a game, like he just seems to always let down. Like maybe it's just me. I just feel like that's what I've remembered whenever he's slotted in as the number 1 receiver. So I'm not like enamored with the fact that he's going to blow up today. He might, but Albert Wilson, to me, has like stone hands as well. So I think, it could be another good game. I mean, I was on him last week, Schultz. So his receiving number, him to score. I think that, yeah, so they have Gallup's receiving yards at 61 and a half. Maybe Noah Brown steps up a bit. To me, though, Dalton Schultz, like the dude gets his targets. Now, the problem is like last week, I mean, I guess it's actually, you think about it, they scored 9 points and he was still a big safety blanket for him or for Prescott. I don't like, to me, this is more or less going to be a running game day for the Cowboys because, unless the Raiders take an approach of we're just going to load up the box and force Dak to beat us with, without his number one and number two receiver, that might be the case. This is likely a good opportunity for Zeke and Pollard, though, very likely. I think you see a good mix of the two of them today with success. I mean, a lot of people can run the ball against the Raiders. It's kind of been happening most often. Raiders have actually been surprisingly good against the pass as well. So, like, let me see. So I look at, like, Dak Prescott's passing numbers, 263 and a half. Okay. To me, doesn't that feel high? Like, I know this guy's averaging like 285 a game, I think, or maybe 280 a game, but he's also missing his like two biggest contributors towards that passing number every week. And again, Albert Wilson, he's a guy that can break free on a play and get open. I think he's actually an above average at getting open. I think he's a good route runner, to be honest. To me, he's got terrible hands. And like I said, Michael Gallup's good, but it always seems like whenever he's locked down by a good corner or, he's getting the most attention from a defense, he just doesn't always seem to be good anymore. And Schultz, I think, is good over the middle, for a bunch of stuff around that area, that area of the field. On the Raiders side, I think you can go a few different ways here. And as far as the spread goes, call it a lean on the under at 50 and a half. Problem is you didn't get the best number. I don't love it, though. And here's why I don't love it. I think that if the Cowboys offense has continuity without their two guys, I think this game can definitely shoot out. The Cowboys definitely have vulnerabilities on defense. The Raiders, you can run all over. So I don't love it. And that's why I didn't bet it. And the spread wise, I mean, look, the Cowboys could blow this team out. It's just tough to read. I think the line's fair, ultimately, is what I'm getting at. I think this total could come down a bit further, maybe 50, maybe underneath 50. But either way, call it a small lean on the under 50 and a half, but not enough conviction for me to play it. Derek Carr, I don't know. He's seemingly been a different quarterback since Ruggs has been out. And it's crazy to think, right? Because like Ruggs has never been like a great receiver in the NFL, but he was definitely this year stretching this defense where him running deep routes was definitely opening up a lot more over the middle for Renfro, opening up a lot more over the middle for Waller. Now you slot in guys like Edwards and, even they've actually even been using the backup tight end at times. Zay Jones on the field a lot, but doesn't do anything. They've just been a weird offense to kind of figure out. And Josh Jacobs, I don't even know if he's still fully healthy. I mean, think about it, Josh Jacobs' rushing yards are 45 and a half. It's crazy. I mean, this dude was so good last year. I know Kenyon Drake's eating into some of that, but overall, this game is going to be a pass for me. Rush yards, look, Dak 11 and a half. I don't think the dude wants to run. Like, I don't think he's fully healthy, and I don't think he's looking to take off. With that said, play breaks down. Guy could go back to his roots and take off for a decent sized run. 11 and a half is a very small number, so it scares me off. Derek Carr, 6.5. Not crazy. I don't think Dallas generates the best pass rush, though. I always think, like, when you want to bet quarterbacks over the rushing number, I think you always have to try to target it against teams with good pass rushes, get them at the pocket more often than not, and give them more opportunities to run. Other than that, though, I think this game's a bit of a mix-up. Like, here's the thing. Like, you look at some of these props, right? So Dak's prop is 260 plus, right? Look at these receiving props, 52 and a half. Like Cedric Wilson, 43 and a half, which to me is egregious. But he's going to be on the field a lot, so I guess I get it in that respect. These numbers, though, aren't even close to the 265 they're projecting for Dak. So yeah, I mean, like for instance, compare it to what they have up open for on the Oakland side of things, right? You got Edwards, you got Waller, you got Renfro. You're already at like $150 in receiving numbers. You tie in Zay Jones, you're at $170. You tie in Jacobs, you're at 200. At least you're close to the number they're projecting for Derek Carr. Like the number they're projecting for Dak at 265 isn't even close to what these numbers add up to. So it goes back to the point of I don't mind the idea of going under Dak's passing yard prop, but again, not enough conviction on my end to play it. Word on the street is you got a goose, not a turkey. Rumor true. Very true, Brandon. Very fucking true. Remember, everybody's all stick a fork in them. Pollard and everything, Scott. Like I said, I don't mind it. I think if you're playing DFS and Tyler or Tambo on the DFS end, I thought mentioned it best, where like you want to build DFS lineups, build them with Zeke, and then to be different when you're done with the lineup build, just swap out Zeke for Pollard. I think it makes you very different. I think there will be people that do it. I just think it's going to be very few and in between. I will tell you this, and I know this isn't a DFS show, but on 3-game slates, you just typically get an egregious amount of ownership on higher priced players that you would never get that type of ownership for if it was a bigger slate, because people have the extra money to spend. And I think with the extra money to spend, you can leverage that from a game theory perspective and play guys at the same position for less amount. I mean, Tambo mentioned as well, you can do the same thing in the Bears game with instead of playing Mooney, you play Goodwin. So, I think you can do those types of things to make yourself different, because you're either going to be sharing, you make a lineup that you fill up all your salary cap with, and it's a bunch of chalky plays. Like if you win, you're going to be splitting the pot with like hundreds of people. So make yourself a little different. I'm not saying you only have to enter the one lineup. I'm saying you can enter the lineup you want to enter where you fill up your cap. Enter an additional lineup where, you're playing second string guys like a Pollard instead of Zeke to make yourself different. Leave a ton of salary on the table. Again, it's all about game theory and, kind of making yourself different. It doesn't mean you'll win this slate, but if you take that approach on this type of slate, always at some point you'll likely land at least close to the nuts. So again, that's just from a strategy perspective, DFS wise. I don't love Cowboys tonight. If anything, Raiders plus the spread seems like the right play. Bears are dangerous picks. Perfect scenario for the Lions to get the first win. I don't argue that, Perez. I don't. I just think about this for a second, Perez. Like, how many times have you heard this season, this is the time the Lions could get a win? Like, to me, they're reminding me a lot of remember, I don't know if you guys remember the 0-16, the 0-16 Browns from, I think it was 2011, maybe. Was it the 0-16 Browns? Or did they win a game? I think of the Lions. I think that Browns team did win a game, didn't they? The year they were really bad, it was about a decade ago. I just remember every week people were like, this is the week they win. This is the week they win. This is the week they win. And yes, at some point, you very well might be right. Like it might be right this week. But literally, everybody knobslobs this team to win a game. Every week. This is their chance. They're going to be competitive today. They're going to look good. Look, just watch this team play. They're terrible. So, they could win today, but I'll take my chances. No, I know the Lions were. I knew the Lions were 0-16, but there was a year the Browns, I thought, went deep into a season without a win. Was it like 0-14 before they got their first win? 0-15? Guys, you guys are gonna make me look this up now. I don't know why I'm thinking it was 2011. Was it 2011? Couldn't have been 2011. Hold, please. What somebody from the chat can help me. Well, the only reason I mentioned them is it was like that Lions team everybody thought was going to lose every week. Like that's not a good example for comparison. But the Browns that year, people were like, every week, this is the team, like, quote unquote sharps were betting them every week. God, I wish I could remember what year that was. It's not going to come to me. Not going to come to me. And I don't want to waste your guys' time because now I'm going through year by year on these Browns schedules. If anybody finds it, feel free to pop in the chat. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was even before 2010. I don't think it was though. I don't know. Okay, we'll move on. So, and that's a good point, Bobby. Like it's just like people that are lining up to bet their hard-earned money on Detroit today, I just find comical. They could win. I'm not saying that it's an impossible game to win. I find it so interesting that in a spot like this, it seems like the market's more on the Lions today. And to me, it's like laughable. Okay. So anyway, we'll move on. Last but not least, the the Bills and Saints. And it's a shame, right? Because this actually could have been a decent game. If you had Jameis in there, if you had Michael Thomas in there, if you had Kamara in there. Instead, you have none of the above. I'm going to give you a point though. Thinking of 1-15, 20. That might be the team, Brandon. That might be them. The 1-15, 2016 Browns, where all the quote unquote sharps were betting them every week, and every week they weren't covering the spread. You hate to see it. I think you might be right there, Brandon. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a perspective here, and I'm interested in your thoughts. Over the last 3 games, the Saints have averaged over 17 points in the fourth quarter alone under Trevor Siemian. They've actually averaged, I believe, half of that in their first 3 quarters of their last 3 games combined. Like, they've averaged half of what they end up scoring in the fourth quarter, and I'll tell you why. Basically, the Saints have gone down a lot of points in 3 straight games in the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter, these teams are playing prevent defenses against them, and Siemian is chewing up a prevent defense. Yeah, I know. Like, going back to the Tim Tebow, days of him chewing up prevent defenses. Hear me out on this, okay? If Siemian isn't going to do shit for the first 3 quarters anyway, why aren't they starting Taysom Hill for the first 3 quarters? I don't get it. This is a game today. We've already seen Siemian. Like, the dude played at Northwestern. He's had, what I'd call a rocky start, to say the least, in the NFL. Not this season. He's played before. You kind of know what you get from him. I think that, and I'm not saying like Sean Payton doesn't realize this or isn't contemplating this, and obviously he's going to know best. I just don't understand it. Like, I just need to objectively understand why, after you've seen Trevor Siemian for 3 straight games do nothing for the first 3 quarters and then pile up numbers in the fourth quarter against prevent defenses, why wouldn't you put Taysom Hill in for the first 3 quarters? At least let him run like a backyard football type offense where, you can grind out drives against a team in Buffalo who, by the way, you don't want off their offense on the field anyway. So you have no Kamara. You might not have Ingram. Why not put, one of your next up highest paid players on your team in at quarterback for the first 3 quarters? And here's the crazy part. If he fucks up or fails, put in Trevor Siemian in the fourth quarter. The dude does work in the fourth quarter when he's down 3 touchdowns. So then make the change. But look, who knows? After 3 quarters of playing with Taysom Hill as your quarterback instead of Trevor Siemian, it might be a different game. All I know is I've watched this team play 3 straight games, and they've done nothing in the first 3 quarters for 3 straight games. And yet, as a fan, or as an NFL fan, like, I'm supposed to be convinced that Trevor Siemian is the best option for this team early in ball games. I don't get it. Again, I know Taysom Hill isn't a very good passer of the football, but he's pretty dynamic, and he opens up a decent amount for this team. And he also creates an element of surprise for Buffalo, who've likely been preparing for Siemian. I just think you do some form of hybrid read option wildcat offense with Taysom Hill, and you just see where you're at halftime. Again, with Siemian, you haven't been anywhere at halftime for the last 3 games. So that's my perspective. I mean, the Saints are trying to play good defense and smash mouth football. Like, Taysom Hill is your exact answer to, like, I know I'm kind of ranting here. I just don't get it. Siemian had his opportunity, has the 3 games. You're in a primetime game against Buffalo, in a game you really need to win. And you're just going to go back to Siemian, who's shown nothing. I don't get it. So that's my take. And I hope that, as a person who's going to watch the only NFL game that's on later tonight, I do hope to see somehow, some way that Taysom Hill starts, because Siemian hasn't been the answer. And if Taysom Hill screws up the first 3 quarters, just literally bring in Siemian, who's been good only in the fourth quarter, with trailing by double or triple digits. So anyway, those are my thoughts. As for the game with Siemian starting, so we'll talk through it. I will tell you this, my other best bet of the day. Just trying to see what the number is. Oh, shit. It's 35 now. All right, hold on. Hold, please. See what it is at FanDuel. So I will tell you this. Josh Allen's rushing prop, okay, early yesterday, like early afternoon yesterday, even before morning yesterday, was 32.5. Okay. Now at DraftKings, I'm seeing 35.5. Let me see what's at FanDuel. Oh, FanDuel, still 32.5. Look at that. Magical. Okay, so Josh Allen, rush yards. Over 32.5. It's minus 110 FanDuel. To me, he's your typical quarterback when his rushing number is in the low 30s. Okay. It is a borderline auto fire on his over for rushing yards. I know you look at his last 2 games, he hasn't ran the ball at all. Okay. But that doesn't matter because he hasn't run the ball at all his last 2 games. is why this number is what it is. No, most often I'm used to seeing Josh Allen's rushing number, 35 and a half and greater. Okay, usually actually 38, 39 and a half. Why? Because typically he takes off a few times and his carries are always high leverage carries, right? He's always taking off when he has a lot of room to run, most often. This Saints defense will put pressure on him to move outside the pocket. And I also think that this Buffalo offense hasn't had much success recently. Of course they had success against the Jets, but the Jets just handed them turnover after turnover after turnover that it was almost like a facade of a game. And they were up so much that Josh Allen had no want to run the football anyway. That could happen today, but the Saints defense, if anything, is pretty good, and they do generate pressure, and they will get Allen outside the pocket and moving. So I just like the spot. I think this is an offense that's really lacked a lot of continuity recently. They looked awful against the Colts, and look, the Colts played good defense, but man, Buffalo looked out of sorts. And I think a lot of it's funneled through Allen. And I think when they're going to look back at a lot of the tape from that game, because as you guys know, or maybe know, I was on the Colts plus the points in that game. So I watched a decent part of it, and there was a decent amount of opportunity where Josh Allen got outside the pocket, room to run, and was choosing to throw an incomplete pass instead. I think they're going to look at the game tape, and they're going to say, look, this Saints defense is going to push you out of the pocket. When they do, take what the defense is giving you. Take your 8-9 yards here. Take your 10, 11 yards here. If you break a big one, you break a big one. I just think the number is way too low. Look, he might not get there, but at 32 and a half, that's crazy for a number for a guy like Allen. So, yeah, really like his rush number over 32 and a half. That's still at FanDuel, New Jersey, for those that want to grab it. As for how this game plays out, look, we know the Saints have been slow starters. So you could argue maybe playing Buffalo first half. Their last few games under Simeon has been woeful. I will say this, though. If I was to bet the Bills first half and Taysom Hill gets announced as the starter, I'm not going to feel as good about it. I know it kind of sounds silly because Taysom Hill's really not a great quarterback. But to me, it's the element of surprise. They haven't exactly been preparing for a lot of Taysom Hill snaps today. At least I can't imagine Buffalo has been. And I think it would just be different. So, yeah. If assuming Trevor Siemian gets ruled as the starter, I think there's going to be some value laying the points with Buffalo. Buffalo's likely going to be a chalky play today, I'd assume anyway. Here's my thing. The Saints do have some backdoor magic to them. They've had some backdoor magic to them in the last few games, and this goes back to my point on teams seemingly going prevent against them in the fourth quarter and Siemian chewing that up. But, overall, this is a tough game to bet game-wise because I'd argue that, yeah, it would likely be tough sledding for the Saints. Maybe you bet their team total under. The Bills have kind of proven that, when they play decent defenses, this offense has completely been out of sorts. Look at so I believe their last 5 games, they're only 2 wins, Miami and the Jets, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so they lose to the Titans, they lose to the Jaguars, they lose at home to the Colts, and they beat up the Jets and the Dolphins. So this has all happened since their Chiefs win. Now, maybe they go back into full stride. I find it crazy that this team is 6-4 with their schedule. Literally, they've played the Dolphins twice, Washington, the Texans, the Jets, the Jaguars, and somehow this team only has 6 wins. It just seems like anytime they play a relevantly decent team, they struggle offensively. So, yeah, I'd argue maybe some value on the under. My issue, though, here is this offense has been – this number is now super low, like a 44.5 number in a game Buffalo's playing. I don't know. I don't even know when the last time that actually happened. In a game that Buffalo is playing in, a total of less than 45. Even when they played Miami, I think it was 47. They played the Jets, I think it was 46.5. They played the Jaguars. I'm pretty confident that total was definitely 47 or higher. Just, again, strange for me. So that's why I can't bet it, just based on almost principle. But like I said, I think you could maybe bet, maybe the first half Saints team total under. But that's going to be low, right? It's probably going to be 9.5. Yeah, so first half team total is 9.5 for the Saints. I don't mind that, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's a tough game to cap because, you're basically assuming Buffalo bounces back, but the data that's in front of us isn't exactly positive in that manner. So I'll stay away from the full game. But again, I do think Josh Allen gets out of the pocket. I do think Josh Allen takes a few extra opportunities to run the football. And I think we're getting a soft number because of his lack of running the last few games. But he's still, an elite runner, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, he's not like Lamar Jackson, who's the best at it currently in the NFL, but he's an elite runner. So I think it's a low number, all things considered. And to be honest, I think you guys should always be doing this with props, right? Like I think based on situations can change things based on injuries and such, but I think you should always give yourself floors and ceilings on players for props, right? And always stick to it. Like I said, like I don't ever play Josh Allen's rushing prop when it's above 35.5, but when it's under like 33, like I always play it. So, and I just think you kind of have to until, because he's gonna string a few games where he's running again. And I think it makes sense that it starts today, but I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah, Jose, thanks. Happy Thanksgiving. So Scott, they're missing their top sack leaders, but I'd argue this offensive line's been abysmal for Buffalo, like absolutely abysmal. Like I think that the Saints still could get pressure on him. And let's not forget, Jalen Hurts last week decided to tuck and run it 18 times against his defense. So I'm not saying that Josh Allen is going to run it 18 times because he never does. But it's pretty clear Philly's game plan was we're going to read option this team to death. And it worked pretty effectively. So I think Buffalo could try something similar where they don't ever really establish the ground game, but Philly had a tremendous amount of success with it last week against the Saints. And I think when you take into account Josh Allen extending plays, Josh Allen scrambling outside when pressure comes his way, and Josh Allen running a few read options tonight, I think it's just a lot of opportunity to get over that small number. So other than that, that's all the games. My two best bets are, as mentioned, Bears -3 plus 100. You can get 2.5 shopped around properly, though. And Josh Allen over his rushing number. Other than that, look, I wish you guys all nothing but the best today. Enjoy yourselves, whether it's family, friends, whether you're just at home chilling, relaxing, alone, whatever you're doing, whatever you like to do. I hope you have a good time doing it. And look, as always, though, gamble responsibly, stay safe. I'll be back tomorrow, or tonight, actually, later tonight, talking college football for tomorrow, breaking down some games, giving you some perspective there, along with some best bets, because we have a nice, fun college football slate tomorrow. And then I'll be back on Saturday again, doing the same thing, doing it all over again. Head over to runpurebets.com, see what we're all about. We got a bunch of plays posted for today. And, of course, we'll be loaded up for tomorrow. I also have some NFL picks posted for Sunday as well. So, looking forward to a fun weekend. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck today. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for being active in the chat as always. And look, love you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.